Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 120, coming at you on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you get your podcasts and videos on YouTube. We have one hell of a show, some massive fights that have been announced, including an absolute blockbuster UFC 323 card to mark the end of the UFC ESPN era and to turn a new chapter into 2026 for the UFC Paramount Plus chapter. We will talk about the Dana White Contender Series finale, UFC Rio, and preview this weekend's UFC Vancouver card, which is an absolute doozy. And I'm excited. I mean, the weather here, it's like low 80s, perfect. We got a ton of rain this past weekend. The best summer since I've lived here, the shortest window of just miserable heat. Actually had a lot of storms that included a lot of rain. And then this weekend, I have my best friend and his family come in, get a couple golf days in, and just have a low-key weekend. Looking forward to that. And next week, your boy's going to Pittsburgh for Packers, Steelers, Sunday night football, a little Rogers revenge game, hoping to have some discount and double check celebrations. To say the end of October is a fun one is a slight, that is for sure. But let's jump right in because there is some absolute bangers that have been announced. A lot of it coming from Dana White's live yesterday. But we have Miles Johns taking on Muin Gafurov November 1st. That is actually a really good bantamweight fight. On November 8th, Ismail Bonfim joins his brother Gabriel Bonfim once again, taking on Chris Padilla November 8th. We have Austin Bashi out of his bout, so insert Hyder Emil will be taking on Jamal Emmers on that November 8th card as well. We have Sean Brady taking on Michael Morales at UFC 322. The welterweight division is getting anyone and everyone booked. You love to see it. That is an absolute banger and a big opportunity for Michael Morales after his brilliant performance against Gilbert Burns. We have Grant Dawson taking on Manuel Torres December 6th. That's also another great bout. And how about UFC 323? Banger after banger. Again, if the UFC wasn't $800 to $1,000 a pop for a 100-level seat, I would probably go. This card is absolutely bonkers. We have Fares Ziam taking on Nazim Sadikov, two up-and-comers in the division, absolute studs. The winner there is going to be right in the mix. We have Jan Blachowicz taking on Bogdan Guskov. A little bit of a surprising matchup for me, but still a great one as Jan Blachowicz nears retirement. Another kind of interesting bout, we have Henry Cejudo taking on Peyton Talbot. It has not officially been announced as Henry Cejudo's retirement fight, but he has alluded to fighting one more time, and he gets a very good young up-and-comer that he's trained with and knows pretty well. Definitely grappler versus striker there. We're going to learn a lot about Peyton Talbot in that fight. We have Terrence McKinney and Chris Duncan. Absolute violence, absolute banger. We have Brandon Moreno taking on Tatsuro Taira. The young phenom Tatsuro Taira from Japan taking on all the best opponents he can. Again, we will learn how good he can be as he got handled pretty easily by Brandon Raw Dog Royval. And I do expect to see the best of Brandon Moreno. We have Marvin Vittori taking on Bruno Fajeda and another absolute banger. And then the co-main event is the Flyweight Championship, Alexandre Pantoja and Joshua Van. Super stoked for that fight. How good is Van and how goaty is Pantoja in the Flyweight division? And then the machine, Merab Dvalishvili, going for his fourth title defense in a calendar year. I believe he fought January, June, October, and now December, he shot his shot in a rematch against Peter. You know, only the machine could do some shit like that. I'm super stoked for this card. And then we have Serhii Sidi out of his fight against the up-and-coming Malcolm Wellmaker. They are trying to find a new opponent. But I mean, come on. UFC 323 does not get better than that. Each fight I just announced on that card, there is not one of those that will disappoint. Speaking about not disappointing, how about Season 9 of the Contender Series? I haven't watched every single season. I think I started at 5 or 6, watching every single episode. I think this was the best season by far. And a big reason to that, in my mind, is the talent pool. Young up-and-coming people having the right nutrition, mentorship, social media, ability to watch film, learn new moves, train multiple martial arts. You don't just have a BJJ specialist or a kickboxing specialist anymore. They're so well-rounded. But the season finale, episode 10, man, I was loving it. I came home, started a little late, and social media was buzzing. It started with Wes Schultz taking advantage of his second stint with the Contender Series with a round 1 submission via Suloev stretch over Mario Mingai at middleweight. We never see submissions like this. I'm pretty sure confirmed it's the first time this has happened in the Contender Series. And this fight was immediate action to start. Wes rocked Mario pretty early with a nice kind of sweeping left hook, and then was able to get his back, put his legs in, and as he was leaning over, went and grabbed his leg, rolled him over into the Suloev stretch after getting his hooks in. Beautiful display, beautiful dominance, and it was good redemption for him because his first bout was against the very good Mansour Abdul Malik. We've seen how powerful and dangerous he is, so congrats to the 30-year-old ex-wrestler Wes Schultz. I'm excited to see him in the UFC at middleweight. Then we had a very lazy heavyweight fight where Jovan Leka got a unanimous decision over Azamat Nutafiliev. And they grappled for most of this fight. And Azamat started pretty well with the takedown. But after the round was completely gassed. He didn't even get up to sit on a stool. He just sat on the canvas after round 1. I mean, the guy was completely done for. Leka took advantage of it. And was able to get a finish or get a decision win by out-grappling him because he was so tired. Of course, Leka, I think only 23 years old, did not get a contract. Dana White said he would like to have him back, give him another chance. But, you know, go fight at the regional scene. He's still young. So that definitely swayed the momentum to not a great place. But then at welterweight, we had Michael Oliveira with a round 2 TKO over Victor Valenzuela. And the first round was a very fun back and forth, mostly boxing fight, where both men showcased that they had serious power and technique, looked like UFC quality. But in round 2, Oliveira used his length to his advantage. I think he had like a 7-inch reach advantage. He was ripping combos at his opponent, had a nice lead left jab that kept landing over and over. But Victor, man, showcased his durability, somehow lasted through the entire round, or almost the entire round. But it was a fun 2 rounds. Michael got the win. He earned a contract as well as Wes Schultz. I do think Michael Oliveira looks like the real deal. Really excited to see him in the welterweight division. A very deep, fun division currently in the UFC. Then pure chaos started at featherweight. Both men almost finished each other in the first 2 minutes of the fight. But Marwan Rahiki got a round 2 knockout over Ananias Mulumba. Marwan Rahiki is an absolute savage. How he didn't get finished after that first combo landing and being destroyed and knocked down twice in round 1 is pretty insane. He was 6-0 coming in, really hasn't fought stiff competition. But he showcased really good speed and precision as a striker. Definitely needs to work on his striking defense. His hands were low. That's why he got caught a few times in this fight. But in round 2, he was kind of reborn. His cardio was in a much better place than his opponent, as he actually walked Mulumba down and was too fast for him. And when they were up against the cage, he unleashed some really nasty elbows to get a finish. And I mean, the look on Dana and the crew's face after that knockout was priceless. Beautiful win by Rahiki. He earned a contract as well. Then in the bantamweight division, it was another action-packed fight. Juan Diaz getting a round 2 knockout over Quan Wanil. And these two went straight at each other. I mean, I assume they see what happens in the locker room on the TV. Got to, go for it to earn a contract. And both of these guys used their full arsenal of attacks. But Diaz was leading the dance and got a nice takedown at the end of the round with a body triangle. Seemed like he was going to move to a submission, but ran out of time. And then in round 2, they went right back at each other in an absolute savage kickboxing exchanges. But Diaz wanted to grapple to slow things down. And the lengthy Quan wouldn't accept it. He kept getting back up. When they separated, definitely Quan seemed like the fresher fighter. But Diaz wouldn't get out of his face. He kept pressuring him. And with seconds remaining, Diaz ripped a spinning elbow, which seems to be undefeated these days. But this one probably landed cleaner than I've ever seen. The point of the elbow right on the chin completely knocked his ass out. It's the year of the spinning elbow. This is bows and TKOs, baby. That one guy just raining vicious elbows. We have 12 sixes available. The spinning elbow, beautifully timed. What a scene. If you haven't seen the highlight, go on Twitter or X or somewhere. I mean, it was insane. Definitely the hottest move in the sport right now. And again, the timing, the landing of it, I don't think I've seen any better. How this fight was the main event blows my mind. But we get Freddie Vidal, who took a fight on short notice earlier this season, who is a teacher, getting his second chance against Levi Rodriguez at light heavyweight. And Freddie closed distance and went for a lazy takedown. Couldn't get a finish, but Levi was able to get a finish in the first round. He ended up earning a contract. But man, what an amazing finale to the season. Those 2 knockouts, the first fight, absolutely fantastic. And again, an amazing season overall with 4 contracts. And then that Marwan Rahiki fight where he almost lost. His opponent, Anais, Dana said he will book him next season in the Contender Series. But let's talk about last weekend's action. We had UFC Rio. Your boy cleaning up on the picks again, going 11-3. So we're at 727 wins, 359 losses, 9 no contests and draws. On the year, I'm at 243 wins, 118 losses, 2 no contests and draws. I will say the night kind of started slow. The energy in the arena was very drained going into the final 2 fights. Brazil did start off the card going hot, 6-0 for Team Brazil. Although one of the fights was Brazil on Brazil crime. No major moments that stole the energy in the arena. Not a lot of great action. Overall on the card, Brazil finished 8-4. But the night was saved by Charles in the main event. I didn't think the card was a great product, though. I think I previewed it as 6 out of 10. I am recapping it a 4 out of 10. We did have Jose Aldo kind of having a walk to the octagon for a pure retirement, bid farewell in Rio. The King of Rio put his gloves in. That moment was super cool. Much needed for Jose Aldo and well earned. But again, it was not quite as good of a card as I was hoping for. But some good fights we did not break down. We had Luan Lacerda with a round 2 submission via armbar over Simon Oliveira, who missed weight by like 7 pounds. We had Julia Pilastri with a round 3 TKO over Karolina Kowalkiewicz. That was a performance of the night. 50 G's for Julia. She looked great. Another great woman performance. We had Bia Mosquito with a round 2 submission via rear naked choke over Irina Alexieva. Another performance of the night. 50 G's in the early prelims. Then we had Michael Oswell Jr. with a round 1 TKO over Lucas Almeida. Was definitely going viral. Lucas at the weigh-ins looking like he had a broken hand. He did not throw his right hand one time in the fight. Not shocked to see that result. He must needed the money. I'm surprised the fight actually was sanctioned, but in Rio, anything is possible. So we will recap 2 prelim fights. We had Vitor Petrino with a round 3 knockout over Thomas Petersen. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Vitor. And I mean, Vitor came out being aggressive. He had a nice 1-2 combo that sat Thomas down early in the fight and had him scrambling. And then he got a quick takedown. Somehow Thomas was able to kind of settle in and survive. And through the fight, Thomas tried to wear on Vitor and get takedowns of his own, get some clinch work done as well, but he wasn't having much success. I mean, Vitor is good in those positions as well. And after an ugly second round, it seemed like Vitor was slowing down, and maybe somehow Thomas could kind of eke out a win. But in round 3, he landed another beautiful 1-2 down the middle, sat Thomas down. He was able to jump on him and get the finish in the final round. You know, it wasn't pretty for a while after the quick start in round 1, but another win for Petrino at the heavyweight division. He's going to be a tough out for his athletic ability in that division. Statistically, Vitor only landed 33 total and 31 significant strikes with the takedown. He only had 1 takedown in 6 attempts. You know, Thomas is good in that department as well, but he did have 2 knockdowns and 3 minutes and 3 seconds of control time. Thomas landed 41 total strikes, only 16 significant. He was 0 for 8 in takedown attempts, which that was definitely going to be his path to victory, but Petrino is more athletic. He did have 2 minutes and 6 seconds of control time. So Vitor extends his winning streak to 2, both at heavyweight. He's now 6-2 since 2023. He's been very active since entering the UFC. And Thomas starts a new losing streak. He moves to 3-3 since 2023. So what's next? Well, I'd like to see Vitor in the top 15. Maybe somebody like Mick Parkin. I'm pretty high on Mick as well. Bad stylistic matchup for him. But you got to book somebody. And for Thomas, how about Marcus Buchecha? Moving on to the small dudes, we had Jafel Filho with a round 1 submission over via Kimura over Clayton Carpenter. This is one of the fights I got wrong. And as a typical flyweight bout, it went 0 to 100 right away. Jafel landed some good shots early and got an early takedown. And in the scramble positions, after a couple of reversals from Clayton, Jafel caught him in a Kimura that was so deep, Clayton was just stuck. A huge win, a very nice performance from Filho. This guy is a very tough fighter in the division. The flyweight level of competition has definitely risen over the past 48 months. And Clayton, definitely a tough start to his UFC career, but he has faced some dudes, some high-quality fighters. I think he'll be all right. Statistically, Jafel landed 28 total strikes, only 5 significant with the takedown, a submission attempt, a reversal, and 2 minutes and 32 seconds of control time. And Clayton landed 12 total strikes, 7 significant, with a reversal and 1 minute and 4 seconds of control time. Again, Clayton, he trains here locally in Phoenix. He definitely has the skill and ability. He's fought some tough guys. I just couldn't imagine going all the way to Rio and having a first round finish that way. But Jafel definitely is a submission expert. So Jafel starts a new winning streak. He moves to 4-2 in the UFC. Clayton extends his losing streak to 2. He is 3-2 in the UFC. So what's next? I think Jafel and Sumaderi is the fight to make. And for Clayton, how about Jesus Aguilar? Moving into the main card, we had Kaan Ofli with a round 1 submission via rear naked choke over Ricardo Ramos. So it's another fight I got wrong. But I mean, classic Ricardo. I talked about this last week, going for submission over position and being a little too, reckless. He starts the fight going for leg locks. It seems like he had a good knee bar in that was pretty legit and put Ofli in a pretty immediate defensive position. But he was calm, cool, and collected. But Ricardo just stuck with it for too long. He didn't try to get back up. He just was adamant to keep the fight on the ground. So it put Kaan in a position to reverse him and get his back. And after some time, he got a body triangle in while Ricardo was standing, got him to get down to his knees. Then he put in a nasty rear naked choke to get the tap. Brutal loss for Ricardo. He's had up and down moments in the UFC. But again, classic Ramos doing too much with too little reward. You know, the odds of him getting that submission to start the fight is pretty low in my mind. But hey, congrats to Kaan. Probably kept his UFC career alive. Brand new dad. Massive win for Kaan Ofli. And statistically, Ricardo only landed one total and significant strike. He did have 3 submission attempts. And Kaan landed one total and significant strike, had a takedown, a submission attempt, and 1 minute and 56 seconds of control time. So Kaan starts a new winning streak. He's 1-1 in the UFC. And Ricardo extends his losing streak to 2. He now is only 1-4 since 2023. So what's next? I think Ricardo's right on the line of being cut. If he is still with the UFC, he could take on Zhang Yang Li. And for Kaan, how about the vet Darren Elkins? Moving on. We had Mario Pinto with a round 2 TKO over Jhonata Diniz. Another fight I got wrong. I was back and forth. I just went with Diniz because I expected a kickboxing showdown. But boy, was I wrong. I mean, Mario came into enemy territory and dominated Diniz from the start of the fight. You know, I haven't been very high on Diniz since the Contender Series. He has proven me wrong against weak competition, and it showed that he's been fighting weak competition in this fight. I mean, Mario was able to get takedowns way too easily and pretty much was able to do whatever he wanted once he got him. But how about Mario? I mean, welcome to the UFC. And Diniz, you know, good luck unless you're fighting the bottom of this shallow heavyweight division from here on out. Statistically, Mario landed 87 total strikes, 29 of them significant. He had 3 takedowns and 4 attempts. So again, if he wanted it, he got it. 2 submission attempts, a reversal, and 7 minutes and 28 seconds of control time. Now, Jhonata landed 4 total and 1 significant with a reversal. Again, pretty much got dominated. Now, Mario stays undefeated. He has his winning streak to 11, 3-0 in the UFC. And Jhonata starts a new losing streak. He moves to 4-2 in the UFC. So what's next? I would love to see Mario take on Kennedy and Shekwaku. That'd be a fantastic fight. While Jhonata could square up with the winner of Chris Barnett and Hamdi Abdulwahab. Moving on. We had Yoel Alvarez with a unanimous decision over Vicente Luque. And honestly, I don't even know what to say about this. I just feel like Vicente doesn't want to fight anymore. Which is so weird because he's had massive wins, he's been in some wars, and he's in the middle of his fighting prime, like 33 years old. I just don't think he's done anything but get lucky with some quick darce or anaconda chokes. And if he doesn't get those chokes, he's been dominated. The fact that he beat RDA over the course of 5 rounds still shocks me to this day. I mean, this was a pathetic fight where the fight got stopped because of Yoel's thumb landing in Vicente's eye, even though it was a clean punch. And then both men getting this over with, it just seemed like they agreed to get to the 15 minutes. I mean, Yoel was just touching up Vicente for 15 minutes. In round 2, you know, he was accepting lazy top positions. You know, after round 1, the corner pretty much had to convince Luque to continue in this fight. There was no stoppage after Alvarez landed so many shots with really no fight back from Luque. But the fight continued to round 3. It was just a weird scene. Yoel looks good at the weight. Looks like he's really filled in and is appropriate for this weight class. He got the job done. It is what it is. I'm not too sure what's next for Vicente here. Definitely a weird career to try to put a finger on. But statistically, Vicente landed 31 total and 30 significant strikes while going 0 for 2 in takedowns. And Yoel landed 197, so 160 more. 89 of those significant, 59 more. He had a takedown, a submission attempt, and 6 minutes and 30 seconds of control time. But Yoel, he extends that winning streak to 4, now 1-0 in welterweight. And Vicente extends his losing streak to 2. He is 2-3 since 2023. So what's next? Well, let's get Yoel right back in there. Definitely deserves to be in the top 15. I think a fight with Jeff Neal would be absolutely a win-win. And for Vicente, I'm assuming he's still going to fight. So how about a veteran Michael Chiesa seems more like his pace right now. Moving on. We had Deiveson Figueiredo with a split decision victory over Montel Jackson. And I was pretty excited about this fight. You know, how good is Figgy still at the bantamweight division, being undersized? And can Montel actually put enough offensive output to get a win? Because I mentioned last week that Figgy has to wrestle to find a way to victory with that reach advantage and size advantage that Montel has. But Montel has to want it. He has to be active as a striker. And we got an answer to both of those. Figgy got a great inside trip in round 1 to almost control the entire round, and even had full mount at one time. You know, Montel did do a good job avoiding damage and being calm and had the ability to get back up. But in round 2, Figgy got another takedown, and Jackson got up quickly and started landing some nice shots of his own. But I think Figgy eked out that round. That's why it was a split decision. But again, the story is Montel having that reach and size advantage and really good striking skills. He has to throw more. You got to take chances. He should have never been attacking the legs and sticking the jab out, or he should have been attacking the legs and sticking the jab out all day long, but he never threw more than 14 strikes in a round, and that's just completely unacceptable. In round 3, Figgy was circling the cage, thinking that he had the victory wrapped up, pretty much avoiding anything that could cost him, as he felt he was up 2 rounds. He did pull off a close split decision victory, but for Figgy, it's not a great look. He says he wants to fight Merab Dvalishvili. I don't think that gives him much closer to that goal. He has to be more aggressive as well. He was in Rio. He didn't put on a show for his country, but I think both men are going to pay for it. Montel is not going to get big fights, and I don't think Figgy is going to get the fights that he wants either. And the stats speak to that. Figgy only landed 23 total and significant strikes. He had 2 takedowns in 5 attempts and 2 minutes and 18 seconds of control time. And Montel only landed 30 total and significant strikes at the takedown. I mean, you got to want it sometimes, and you got to be willing to fight, and it just blows my mind at this level. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And I know I'm not a fighter. I've never been knocked out. There is serious, repercussions if you are too reckless. But Montel just, again, stick that jab out. He can't come in, attack those legs so he can't come in with those big combos. It just blows my mind. Enough of that. So Figgy now ends his 2-fight losing streak. He starts a new winning streak. He's 4-2 at bantamweight since 2023. He stays at number 6 in the rankings. And Montel ends his 6-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak. He is now outside of the top 15. So what's next? Well, a lot of the bantamweight division is booked up. It seems like the Sean O'Malley-Song Yadong fight will be next. If that fight isn't booked, maybe Figgy and Sean would be good. But I'm going to say that he's going to have to fight David Martinez. Again, that's what happens when you don't put on a show or really, seem to want to put on a show. You get to take a stud up-and-comer. And for Montel, how about Kyler Phillips? I think that's a fun one. Thank God for El Predador, I guess, but I'm always going to call him Dubronx. Probably the new king of Rio, Charles Oliveira, with a round 2 submission via rear naked choke over Mateusz Gamrot. Performance of the night, well-deserved 50 G's to Dubronx. I mean, you got to love you some Charles Oliveira. The complete opposite of what I just spoke about. He came out super aggressive, and he was just trying to bully Gamrot. Probably was a little bit reckless. He was stalking him down, throwing big shots. Gamrot was able to counter and land some good ones of his own, but that led to Gamrot shooting for a takedown. He did have some top control, but didn't do any damage at all. And Charles was setting up submission after submission. Although Mateusz was on top, Charles seemed like he was in total control. Then in round 2, Charles got a takedown and again showcased how brilliant his BJJ flow is. He got Gamrot's back way too easily and was able to get his neck and get a win, not only for himself, but for Rio. And what a moment after the fight. Just the scene, him jumping right out of the octagon, hanging out with the fans and his people. But he also called for Max Holloway in a BMF fight, which before Max knowing Max broke his hand in the last fight, that's the fight I wanted to see. I think that's 100% the fight to make. I don't care about no Paddy Pimblett. Give us Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira too. But at the other end, another tough loss for Gamrot. It was on short notice, but he was absolutely outclassed in this fight, and I didn't think it mattered. But major props to Charles again. 3 months after that brutal knockout against Ilia Topuria, he wrote the ship, got back in the win column. He could sleep good at night. Poor Gamrot going all the way to Rio to pretty much just get dominated. Statistically, Charles landed 18 total, 11 significant strikes with a takedown, a submission attempt, a reversal, and 3 minutes and 35 seconds of control time. And Mateusz landed 18 total and significant strikes with a takedown and 1 minute of control time. So Charles starts a new winning streak. He is 3-2 since 2023. He moves up 1 spot to number 3. And Mateusz starts a new losing streak. He's 4-2 since 2023 and stays at number 8 in the rankings. So what's next? Clearly, I do think Charles and Max for the BMF would be awesome. I wanted that next anyways. And for Mateusz, he's kind of stuck in a bad place. So the most logical showdown is teammate Jhonata Moicano. Jhonata said he's willing to fight teammates. These two aren't super linked up, even though they train at the same massive gym. I think that's an awesome fight. But yeah, Rio, a little bit underwhelming. I mean, besides Charles, there wasn't really anything to get excited about. The Jafel, Filho, Clayton, Carpenter fight was probably the best. And Ricardo doing Ricardo things, finding a way to lose. Yoel Alvarez, we don't really know how good he looks because Vicente just kind of let him win. And Deiveson eked one out as easily as he could, I guess. But this weekend, UFC Fight Night Vancouver. We've had a lot of location-based fight nights over the course of the past 2 months. I think this is the best one yet. The prelims, 1 p.m. Pacific, so it's an earlier card. The main card at 4 p.m. Pacific, all on ESPN+. To preview the card, again, this is loaded with action. The prelims have great matchmaking, some fights that I think will be violent. The main card is loaded. You have 6 fights with a ton of ranked showdowns with everything on the line. I can't wait to get some questions answered. You know, how good is Ayman Zahabi? Can Mike Malott get over the hump? And how dominant can Renier de Ridder be? We're going to get those questions answered. And as usual, I expect Canada to show up and show out. They should be there early. The place should be rocking. I am previewing this a 7 out of 10, which I don't know if I could rank a fight night at 8, 9, or 10 out of 10. I don't think I've given anything a 10 out of 10 besides maybe UFC 300. We do have a good fight we will not break down. We have Azamat Bakoev taking on Contender Series alum Yusri Belgori. But we're going to kick this off in the prelims. We get Drew, the Crimson Chin Dober, 36 years old with a 27-15-1 record, taking on Kyle Killshot Prepolec, 36 years old with an 18-9 record. Now, much like Josh Emmett, Drew's nickname is not the Crimson Chin, but it's fitting. I've talked about it before. I did grow up in the Jimmy Neutron or the Fairly Odd Parents days. The Crimson Chin, it's Drew Dober written all over it. But to break this down, you know, I love Drew Dober. He's always exciting in the octagon, but he has had a tough run since 2023, although it's been against very good competition. And now he's getting a guy who's getting a second chance in the UFC, who is searching for his first win in his 2 opportunities in the UFC. And now he has a massive opportunity to do so. But Drew is kind of in desperation. You know, Drew can't go to a 4-fight losing streak. So I do expect him to find a way as a more experienced fighter and a better striker. Breaking it down, Drew trains out of Elevation Fight Team. He has a brown belt in BJJ, a black belt in Taekwondo. He's a Bellator, Titan FC, and Ultimate Fighter alum. He's on a 3-fight losing streak and is 1-4 since 2023. 14 of his 27 wins are via knockout, 6 via submission, so 20 of his 27 wins via finish. Now, Kyle is a Bellator and King of the Cage alum. He did have 2 fights for the UFC back in 2019, but he went 0-2. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. Again, 0-3 in the UFC. 10 of his 18 wins are via knockout. 3 of his 9 losses are via submission. But he does have a 4-inch leg reach advantage. Now, honestly, I don't expect this fight to go 15 minutes. And I also don't expect Drew to get reckless because he needs to get a win. I think we see him be a little bit more measured and may even look to take Kyle down and look for some submissions. I just think Drew is the better boxer. He has more power, so he has a lot of things going for him. You know, although this is Kyle's second stint, he's not a young, spry chicken. He is also 36 years old. This is a must-win for both men, so I do think it will deliver a great product and get the action started in Vancouver. But I'm taking Drew Dober. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We get Danny, left hand to God Barlow, 30 years old with a 9-1 record, taking on Djorden Santos, 28 years old with a 10-2 record. Now, you want to talk about chaos? This fight is pure chaos. I'm telling you, the matchmaking is awesome. We get 2 raw strikers with serious athletic and explosion power as strikers. Sometimes you get strikers that are good and lengthy, but some guys are just beasts with pure athletic explosion. Both of these guys match that description. I do think Danny probably is more technical than Santos. Santos is a little wild, but Santos always turns his fights into brawls, and he never stops coming forward. Don't blink in this fight because it's going to be a collision course and is sure to breed violence. Breaking it down, Danny is a Cage Fury and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 3-1 in the UFC. 5 of his 9 wins are via knockout, and he does have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Djorden trains out of American Top Team. He's a Titan FC, Thunder Fight, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 1-1 in the UFC. 4 of his 10 wins are via submission, 3 via knockout, so 7 of his 10 wins via finish. This very well could be just a chaotic kickboxing bout. I do expect Santos to look for some takedowns, and although he isn't a great wrestler, he does put 100% effort when he does try to shoot for takedowns. So if Danny is taken down, I do think he will be in a tough position. If people think they know what's going to happen in this fight, they really don't, including myself. But what we do know is there will be plenty of action, and Djorden will be the one starting the action and closing the distance. Now, Danny is going to need to use his kicks and jab to keep Santos at striking range, but I just have a feeling Santos is going to showcase a massive improvement and grind out a victory, and he does train at ATT. That's got to help. I'm going to take the underdog in this fight. I'm taking Djorden Santos. The dog's coming to eat. But I am not putting this on any parlays. This is a 50-50 coin flip. Moving on. We have Hyung-Sung Peace of Mind Park. 29 years old with a 10-1 record, taking on Bruno Bulldog Silva. 35 years old with a 14-7-2 record and the number 14 next to his name. Now, it is interesting that Park, who took the Tatsuro Taira fight on short notice, is now fighting 2 months later against a tough veteran, but he clearly believes in his ability and wants to right the ship, so watch out. You know, Bruno has looked very good until he faced stiff competition at the top of the division in Manel Kopp and the uprising Joshua Van. Bruno is still a technical fighter in his prime at 35. He's going to be out for blood against a very well-rounded Park, trying to get the ship corrected as well. Breaking this down, Hyung-Sung Park is a road to the UFC alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 3-1 in the UFC. 5 of his 10 wins are via submission, 4 via knockout, so 9 of his 10 wins via finish, which in the flyweight division is very impressive. Bruno trains out of American Top Team. He has a black belt in BJJ. He is fucking fun to watch. 4 of his last 6 fights have been performance of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He's an LFA and Ultimate Fighter Brazil alum. He is on a 2-fight losing streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 6 of his 14 wins are via knockout, 4 via submission, so 10 of his 16 wins via finish, and 3 of his 7 losses are via knockout. Now, clearly I love me a Bruno fight, and Park has showcased his full ability and potential. This is his chance to really put that all together and show people what he's capable of. I do think Park is more technical as a striker and grappler, but Bruno's good everywhere. He does get a bit reckless and sees red in his fights, but I do think Bruno is going to try to bully Park and blitz him, but I think that Park is going to be able to take advantage when the fight gets into those kind of 50-50 scramble positions. Now, I do expect Bruno to initiate the takedown attempts, and if he has success, that would be a major pivot in this fight, but I'm not betting on him getting a bunch of takedowns, although Tatsuro did make it look easy against Park 2 months ago. I am going to take Hyung Sung Park, but I'm avoiding this on any parlay. I very well see a path for Bruno Silva winning this fight. I actually picked Bruno Silva against Joshua Van. Joshua Van continues to show how good he is, but Bruno Silva is a very tough out. Also in the prelims, we get Charles Djorden, 29 years old with a 16-8-1 record, taking on Davy Dangerous Grant, 39 years old with a 17-7 record. Now, the bantamweight Charles definitely has my full attention. You know, he's just now nearing 30 years old. He's hitting his prime, and the time is now for him. You can't lose to a veteran like Davy Grant in Canada. But Davy's a savvy vet. He is definitely not an easy task. He actually may be the better all-around striker, but Charles has that weird Yair Rodriguez-like unorthodox attacks that you can't prepare for. You can't get a guy to come spar you in the gym like Charles Djorden. Breaking it down, Charles has a black belt in BJJ. 2 of his last 4 fights have been performance of the night. He's showing up. He's showing out. He's a TKO alum and former champion. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023. 8 of his 16 wins are via knockout, 6 via submission, so 14 of his 16 wins via finish. Now, Davey has a brown belt in BJJ. He's an Ultimate Fighter alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 3-1 since 2023. 7 of his 15 wins are via submission. 4 of his 7 losses are also via submission. So to submit or be submitted. Now, I do think Charles is going to try to build his confidence as he pulled off a guillotine against Victor Henry in his bantamweight debut. But prior to that, he was getting beat pretty good. You know, Victor was easily taking him down. I could see Davey looking to take him down and wear on him as well. Charles does have some good submissions, but he can't plan to live in that path and catch a wild guillotine. He does need to be aggressive as a striker and attack Davey with that full arsenal of attacks and be kick heavy. Davey is going to look to close the distance and pressure Djorden, so he can't be comfortable just staying at striking range, staying at distance. He's got to make the fight ugly. This is actually another hard fight to pick as well, but if Charles wants to live up to his potential, he has to win this fight to stay relevant in a very deep bantamweight division. For that reason, I'm taking Charles Djorden, but I am not putting this on any parlays. This is going to be a doozy. And talk about this main card. To kick it off, we got Matt, the Steamroller Frivola, 35 years old with an 11-5-1 record, taking on Kyle the Monster Nelson, 34 years old with a 16-6-1 record. Now, Matt is one of the ultimate kill or be killed type fighters. Kyle only has 1 finish since 2019, and he was finished against Steve Garcia a year ago. Now, Kyle's a slick fighter. he isn't going to be an easy out for Matt, but I do think Matt's pressure and chaos is going to overwhelm Kyle, much like Steve did. This is another off-the-walls fight that is going to set up Canada's crowd. They should be going nuts, and it will deliver a fantastic fight to start the main card. Breaking it down, Matt trains with Sarah Longo Fight Team. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He's a World Series of Fighting, Titan FC, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 2-fight losing streak and is 1-2 since 2023. 4 of his 11 wins are via knockout, 3 via submission, so 7 of his 11 wins via finish, and 4 of his 5 losses are via knockout. Now, Kyle has a brown belt in BJJ as well. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. He's 3-1-1 since 2023. 6 of his 16 wins are via knockout, 4 via submission, so 10 of his 16 wins via finish, and 3 of his 6 losses are via knockout. Now, both men could really use a win to stay in the mix at the top end of the featherweight division, the top 25-ish. Matt only fought once last year after back-to-back knockout finishes, but he did fight good competition, so a lot is on the line for both men. That's definitely the theme of this card. I don't think this goes into the 3rd round. I do think Matt finds a way to be calm in the chaos and get a finish. For that reason, I'm taking the steamroller. I'm taking Matt Frivola, but I'm also avoiding this on any parlays. Kyle has a lot of paths to victory if he could get out of the first round. Moving on, we have Cody, the Renegade Gibson, 38 years old with a 22-11 record, taking on Arichi Long, the Mongolian Murder. He's 32 years old with a 25-11-1 record. Now, it's kind of head-scratching to me how this fight is positioned on the main card. I do think this is a prelim-level fight. Neither fighter is Canadian. Again, a little bit shocking to me, but it is what it is. I do think both men, though, are fighting for relevance in the UFC. They can't take a loss at this point in their career, especially Cody at 38, but Arichi Long's in his prime at 32. I don't think they have long leashes in the UFC. A loss here could be detrimental. Now, Cody is truly a well-rounded fighter. He just hasn't been able to put it all together. He's kind of got wins against tin cans and losing against quality opponents. Now, Arichi Long, again in the middle of his prime, is still searching for a quality win as well. I do think a loss here puts them at the very deep end of 135, pretty much in purgatory, so to speak. So I do expect a high-paced, high-action fight. Breaking it down, Cody has a brown belt in BJJ. He's a Titan FC, LFA, Eagle FC, and Ultimate Fighter alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 2-3 since 2023. 7 of his 21 wins are via knockout. 5 of his 11 losses are via submission. Now, Arichi Long has a Sanda style. He has an orthodox stance. He trains here in Phoenix out of Fight Ready. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. He's 1-2-1 since 2023. And 8 of his 25 wins are via knockout. Now, both men are solid. They're solid everywhere. But they're not really great at one specific thing. I do think Cody has way more experience, but Arichi Long has fought good competition since 2023, although he hasn't fared well. I do expect this to be a very close back-and-forth fight, and whoever can have success with their offensive wrestling and just puts out more volume should edge it out. I am more comfortable with Cody over the course of a 15-minute fight. For that reason, I'm taking Cody Gibson, but again, avoiding this on any parlays. This is not a good moneyline parlay card, to say the least. Moving on, we have Manon the Beast Filho, 35 years old with a 12-2 record and the number 2 next to her name, taking on Jasmine Jasdavicius, 36 years old with a 14-3 record and the number 5 next to her name. Now, Jasmine's on a roll. She's got 5 wins in less than 2 years with 3 submission victories. She is getting a big jump up in competition, though. And Manon is a beast. I mean, she's as good as it gets. Somehow Jasmine is getting the top of the division while pretty much skipping out on majority of the talent in the top 10. Manon is coming off her first loss since her pro debut, so I do expect the best version of herself as well. She pushed the flyweight GOAT, Valentina Shevchenko, and she's actually younger than Jasmine. You know, Jasovicius lives off her grappling, but Manon's grappling defense is world class. And she has serious explosion and power for the division that Jasmine hasn't witnessed. But she is fighting in Canada. She's proved the doubters wrong many times, so it should be a fun one. Breaking it down, Manon has a southpaw stance. She has a black belt in karate and a black belt in BJJ. She's on a one-fight losing streak and is 2-1 since 2023. She has the second longest win streak in UFC women's flyweight history at 7, and 6 of her 12 wins are via knockout. Now, Jasmine trains at a Niagara top team. She has a black belt in BJJ. 3 of her last 5 fights have been performance of the night. She's showing up. She's showing out. She has the largest strike differential in UFC women's bout. She landed 326 strikes compared to 26 against Priscilla Cojera. She's a Cage Fury and Contender Series alum. She's on a 5-fight winning streak and is 7-1 since 2023. And she does have a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, I expect Manon to bully Jasmine in this fight. You know, Jasmine has great cardio. She can wear opponents out in the clinch with her offensive wrestling. But again, Manon is much better in all of those positions. I think that Filho is a much better kickboxer as well, and she's going to show the world that she reigns at the top of the division. For that reason, I'm taking Manon Filho. We are putting her on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Ayman Zahabi, 37 years old with a 13-2 record and the number 9 next to his name, taking on Marlon Chito Vera, 32 years old with a 23-10-1 record and the number 7 next to his name. Now, talking about big stakes, I mean, Ayman is finally getting his chance at the top of the division after a 6-fight winning streak, and Chito is trying to stay relevant at the top of the division after 3 losses in 2023. You know, he is in the middle of his prime at 32. He just can't afford to go to extend that losing streak. I can see this fight playing out 2 ways. The most logical option for me is Ayman out-voluming and out-striking Chito for 15 minutes to a decision victory. The unlikely scenario is Chito really fights the way that he fought that earned him a title shot against Sean O'Malley. And that's just to be patient, defensive, to try to tire Ayman out from his output and get the kill shot. AKA the head kick to Dominic Cruz after getting pretty much mauled for the entire fight is a perfect example. Now, Zahabi has only been finished once in his career, and that was against Ricardo Ramos back in 2017. So I'm not thinking that Marlon's going to get the finish. But breaking it down, Ayman trains at a TriStar gym. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's on a 6-fight winning streak and is 7-2 in the UFC. And 6 of his 13 wins are via knockout. Obviously, his brother is one of the brilliant minds in all of UFC that leads TriStar, Firas Zahabi. And I just think that their game plan is going to be prepared, knowing that Marlon lives off the big kill shot. Now, Marlon trains at a RVCA. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's an Ultimate Fighter Latin America alum. He has the most finishes in UFC Bantamweight division history with 10. He's tied with Petr Yan and Cody Garbrandt for the second most knockdowns in UFC Bantamweight history at 10. He has the second most bouts in Bantamweight history at 21, behind Pedro Munoz. He has the most total fight time in Bantamweight history at 4 hours, 39 minutes, and 51 seconds. He's tied with TJ Dillashaw and Merab Dvalishvili for second most wins in UFC bantamweight history at 13. He's tied with Rob Font and Sean O'Malley for second most knockouts in UFC bantamweight history at 6. He has the most submission attempts in bantamweight history at 16. He was the 2022 Most Improved Fighter of the Year. He's on a 2-fight losing streak and is 1-3 since 2023. 10 of his 23 wins are via submission, 8 via knockout, so 18 of his 23 wins via finish. Now, what I said at the top, it rings very true. I mean, Marlon has had his back against the wall and has proved people wrong many times. He has the cardio and the durability to pour out all the offensive volume needed. He could offensively grapple his opponents to death, but he doesn't. I just expect Ayman to lead the dance and have the higher volume as Marlon looks for the perfect opening to attack Zahabi. But Zahabi has great striking defense, so I don't expect that to happen. I mean, Marlon needs to be throwing out 20 to 30 strikes around and mixing in takedowns. Simply enough, if he does that, I almost assure he could win. But he keeps proving that he doesn't do it. He almost looks like he's just like not in his own head and just kind of blacked out in there. I don't know. For that reason, I'm taking Ayman Zahabi, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays as possible as well. Marlon has a lot of potential. We just haven't seen it. Moving on, we got Mike Proper Malott, 33 years old with a 12-2-1 record, taking on Kevin Trailblazer Holland, 32 years old with a 28-14 record and the number 15 next to his name. Now, it is fight week. Apparently, in an interview with Kevin Holland, he didn't even know who he was fighting. He thought he was fighting Jake Matthews. I think he's just playing the part and it's a little bit of comedy. But Mike Malott is having another opportunity in Canada for a major fight win opportunity and a chance to enter the top 15 rankings where I think he belongs. You know, he almost had a big win against Neil Magny, but he ended up gassing himself out and losing in the third round. But now he's getting stiffer competition in Canada. You know, Kevin Holland is probably one of the biggest enigmas in all of the UFC. He's as active as any UFC fighter of all time on the roster between 2 weight classes. You know, he's taken on another high potential fighter in his prime who is well-rounded and is probably fighting in his better weight class. I like him as a welterweight a lot much more than middleweight, so that's a plus for him. Kevin lost his last fight against veteran Daniel Rodriguez in July and showcased that he needs to live off submissions or chaos. He kind of needs chaos in a fight to go out and just have some wild attacks to get a victory. If this fight is a classic technical back and forth kickboxing fight, or if Kevin Holland doesn't find a way to get takedowns, I don't think it'll work well in his favor. You know, Mike is just as desperate as Kevin for a big win right here in the middle of his prime. He's kind of at a slow climb after facing low-level competition. I do think a true star, another star could be born in this division if Mike Malott has a big finish. Breaking it down, Mike also trains out of Niagara Top Team. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a World Series of Fighting, Bellator, Cage Fury, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 4-1 since 2023. 6 of his 12 wins are via submission, 5 via knockout, so 11 of his 12 wins via finish, and both of his losses are via knockout. Now, Kevin has an orthodox stance. He has a 2nd-degree black belt in Kung Fu and BJJ. 2 of his last 3 fights have been performance of the night. He's showing up, he's showing out. He has the 2nd most performance of the night bonuses in UFC history with 9 behind Charles Oliveira, who just extended that. He's tied with Roger Huerta and Neil Magny for the most wins in a calendar year in UFC history with 5. He's tied with Tony Ferguson for the most Darce and Bravo choke submission wins in UFC history with 3 behind Vicente Luque. He has the most wins in a calendar year in UFC middleweight history with 5. The most bouts in a 12-month period in UFC history was 7 from May of 2020 to April of 2021. That earned him the 2020 Breakout Fighter of the Year That's all COVID times. He's a Legacy FC, King of the Cage, LFA, Bellator, and Contender Series alum. He's on a one-fight losing streak and is 5-5 since 2023. 14 of his 28 wins are via knockout, 9 via submission, so 23 of his 28 wins via finish. And he has a long 8-inch reach advantage in this fight. Now, unless Kevin gets some clinch work going or some leg trips, kind of like what Neil Magny likes to do, the only takedowns I expect to come would be from Mike's offensive wrestling. You know, Kevin is really long. He has great chokes, but I would be shocked if he submitted Mike. The longer the fight goes, the more it does favor Mike, in my opinion, as well. If Kevin is going to win, it'll be in the first round. Mike is a pretty measured fighter. He has great defense for the most part, and I think that this will be big in this fight, as Kevin has some wild attacks. Like he says, he's pretty much in there kung fu fighting. He just lets his body flow and go. But I'm going to take the home country man. I'm taking Mike Malott. I'm avoiding this on any parlays. I've been up and down with Kevin. Again, he's the biggest enigma. It's hard to put a finger on him. He'll dominate somebody, lose to D-Rod. He's all over the map. I just feel like in Canada, with the stakes that Mike has, he has to find a way. And Kevin's just out there prize fighting, looking to get paid anyways. I am not putting that on a parlay, though. Then in the main event, we get Rainier RDR de Ritter, 35 years old with a 21-2 record and the number 4 next to his name, taking on Brendan All-In Allen, 29 years old with a 25-7 record and the number 9 next to his name. Now, I was very excited for the RDR and Anthony Hernandez fight. No slander to Brendan Allen, but this is a much easier fight for RDR, and honestly, it doesn't help him a ton towards a title shot. But Brendan has showcased improved striking and is coming off a big win against Marvin Vettori. But I think RDR is going to overpower Brendan and overwhelm him like he did against a much better Robert Whittaker only 3 months ago. I will say, RDR's technical striking isn't great, and he's what you could say is kind of sloppy, like the former champ DDP. And maybe Allen could catch him early. Maybe he pressures RDR, keeps him on his back foot up against the cage to avoid takedowns and his weird, wild, loopy strikes. But Allen only has one TKO finish, and that was back in 2020, so that's probably not very likely. But breaking it down, Rainier has a black belt in judo and BJJ. He's a former 1 champion. He's a 2 weight class champion. At middleweight, he had 2 successful title defenses, and he was also a light heavyweight champ. He's the 3rd double champ in ONE history. He's on a 5-fight winning streak, 4-0 in the UFC. 13 of his 21 wins are via submission. Both of his losses are via knockout, and he does have a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, Brendan trains out of Killcliff FC. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a Legacy FC, an LFA alum and former champ with 1 successful title defense, and he's also a Contender Series alum. He has the 2nd most submissions in UFC middleweight history with 6. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 5-2 since 2023, and 14 of his 25 wins are via submission. Now, much like I said about Manon Fiorot, I expect RDR to kind of bully Brendan, much like Anthony Hernandez did. What I mean by that is I expect RDR to pressure him and bring the fight where he wants. If Brendan could somehow reverse the pressure and pressure RDR and get him up against the cage, defend takedowns well, maybe get some of his own, I think he has a legitimate chance. I just don't expect that to happen, and this is a 5-round fight. If Allen could pull this off, it really throws a wrench into the division, but I'm taking RDR. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Again, an absolutely awesome card. A lot of tough fights to pick, a lot of stakes on the line, and I do think it's the best location-based fight night card probably this year. a lot of these local fights have had a lot of local fighters, like we saw in Rio, a lot of Brazil fighters. And Brazil fared pretty well. Some of the past location-based fight night cards they did as well. But for my picks, I got Canada going. I have Tainara Lisboa winning. So I have Melissa Croden from Canada losing. So that's 0-1. I got Drew Dober, so I have him going 0-2. I got Charles, so I got him going 1-2. I have Matt, so I have him 1-3. I got Manon, I got him going 1-4. I have Iman, so 2-4. I have Mike, 3-4. And I have Rainier, so I have him going 3-5. So I don't think Canada has a big sweep, but you never know. I'm excited, though. I think Rainier and Manon are going to put on shows and showcase how good they are. Massive opportunity for Ayman Zahabi. Could Marlon do what he needs to do? Matt Frivola, can he win recklessly? Big moment for Charles Jourdain. Hyung Sung Park, how good is he? Can Bruno Silva keep it going? That Danny Barlow, Djorden Santos fight is chaos. Big moment for Drew Dober. I'm excited. And then next week, we go back to Abu Dhabi for a loaded pay-per-view. It's UFC 321. Another stacked card with 2 titles on the line as Tom Aspinall defends against number 1 ranked Cyril Gane. And then we have the interim strawweight title fight between number 1 Virna Jandiroba and number 5 Mackenzie Dern because Zhang Weili forfeited her title to fight Valentina. But that's episode 120. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.